Ole Miss has had its most recent fall camp practice, a scrimmage that we need to talk about. We got some injuries to discuss and what's going to happen around the SEC here on this crossover.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into this crossover of Locked On the Portal and Locked On Ole Miss. I am your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast and Locked On Ole Miss your first listens each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Truly appreciate you stopping in. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, you can get into it because football season is almost here, just over a week from the first college game. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now. We're going to be talking all things Ole Miss, SEC, injury news, talking about who did or who did not play in Ole Miss's scrimmage. Should there be any panic about what happened or not? Possibly a new running back emerging for the Ole Miss Rebels. Discussion, of course, about Austin Simmons and his development. And then just around the SEC, some teams to talk about, including who is the surprise team going to be this year in the Southeastern Conference. To help me make that happen, Stephen Willis of Locked On Ole Miss. Stephen, how are you doing today, sir?
I am doing quite well, Brian, getting ready for the season. We are 17 days away from the Georgia State game against Ole Miss, but they are 10 days away. We're about to hit single digits until week 0 in Farmageddon.
Wow, it's hard to believe. That game kind of snuck up on. That ought to be a good game, by the way. That ought to be a really good football game. Those teams don't like each other, but they're similar. And they're playing it overseas. A bunch of farmers headed to Ireland, but
how are they going to get their tractors there?
I'm trying to figure that out, man. I don't know. All right, Stephen. As for the Ole Miss news, we're going to get to the most important thing on my mind, that I'm just going to be greedy and start with it. The recent scrimmage, the defense won. That's not any kind of news flash. Anybody that follows football knows that if the offense is way ahead of the defense in a fall camp scrimmage, usually it's a bad sign for your future win-loss record. Offense is much more difficult because it's about chemistry, congruent with all 11 players. Defense, 10 guys can screw up, one guy make a great play, and it's 2nd and 17. So there's not a lot of surprise that the defense won. My bigger question for you, based on, and you get a billion times more intel than I do you feel comfortable with where the offense is right now? Then we'll get into the defense after that.
Yeah, actually, I really do. I think it's just a surprise that the defense is ahead of schedule because they were so dominant defensively a year ago.
Right.
If this team is anything resembling what that was, or some sort of a combination of the 2023 team and the 2024 team, this Ole Miss team is going to be tough to deal with as long as they don't turn the football over, as long as they don't make their mistakes offensively at the worst time. That's what it comes down. It's going to come down to timing. But this defense doing that does not throw me off the offense even a little bit. With Austin Simmons and the weapons they have on the outside and the tight end and running back, no, they're going to be absolutely fine. If they're just a tick better than they were a year ago on the offensive line, they're going to win a lot of games.
This seems to be from just kind of reading the message boards, talking to Ole Miss people that follow the program. The O-line, it's never been dominant under Kiffin, but they got more big bodies now than they have in the past. And of course, it's, again, offense is about congruency. Do they play well together? They've had a couple guys nicked up, so let's talk about that. Are we dealing with the full deck of cards here? Or was the scrimmage a hodgepodge and then defense, as they should, took advantage? Which one of those do you think is the more accurate depiction?
It was a hodgepodge. Jaden Williams was out for the scrimmage. He's going to be the starting right tackle, the blindside protector of Austin Simmons, if you will. PJ Wilkins slid out to the right side, which he had been playing interior offensive line for most of camp. Then you add Patrick Kudas not participating either. There were really only 2 spots in that lineup, Bryson Sanders and Diego Pounds at left tackle, that the offensive line was as it would be. But now the flip side of that is you got to have more than the first 5. play
100%.
offensive line. You're going to have a situation to where a tackle or a guard gets nicked up in the game, and you're going to have to rotate a little bit. And whenever you rotate at all, if there's a big drop off, you're going to have a little bit of trouble. I think it was just a first time live situation. Second of all, if you got into Austin Simmons' zip code and his area code, they blew the play dead, and all of the wide receivers were in black jerseys as well. So as much as you can take from a scrimmage, we did, but we're not going to overreact about it either.
That makes me feel a little better because, like, if you have your quote-unquote starting five healthy out there and then they get their tails kicked, while I still understand the defense is probably going to win most scrimmages, it would have bothered me more because this is a pretty veteran group in terms of just being on college campuses. So I expect them to, at some point this year, to gel. I mean, Williams, Kudus has probably got NFL aspirations. They've got some players, but you got to get guys healthy. It's more important for them to play against Georgia State than it is against each other in a fall camp scrimmage. So I digress.
Well, and another thing on this is Austin Simmons has gotten all of the hype in the world in this offseason. This very well could be a situation where Charlie Weiss Jr. and Lane Kiffin just scripted a bad performance for Austin Simmons. They wanted him to struggle a little bit, so bring him down a little bit so you can build him back up. The next scrimmages, they're going to try and probably get him confidence going forward into Georgia State and Kentucky.
Well, that will be important. On that note, in the same backfield, we've discussed multiple times on these crossovers, who's going to be the main running back, or is it going to be by committee? Every time I either read a report, speak with you, text with you, whatever, if it comes up, we're not sure. But recently, Kewan Lacy has, quote unquote, started to make a surge. Is that what you're hearing, or is that just fodder for anybody to listen to if they want?
I don't know if it's a situation where he's becoming the guy, but he is the situation to where, listen, Lane Kiffin does not put you out at press conferences, does not do social media blasts about you unless you're doing the right thing. And he was the story of spring practice and his contact balance and all of the stuff that makes Kewan Lacy good. And then unprompted, he started talking about Kewan Lacy being electric in this fall camp. That tells me that he's at least separated himself. Now, I don't think there will be a running back one for this team. I think they're going to at least have two backs, maybe three. In 2022 or 2020 and 2021, there was three running backs in the backfield, and they alternated pretty consistently in Snoop Connor and Jerry and Ely and Henry Parrish. In 2022 and 2023, it was two running backs with Quinshon Judkins. The first year was Zach Evans, and then Quinshon with Ulysses Bentley. I think that ideally, just my opinion on that, Lane probably wants to get back to that 2020 and 2021 unit to where the Jerry and Ely is Kewan Lacy, the Snoop Connor is like Damian Taylor, and then there Henry Parrish is Logan Diggs. I think that's what he wants, but that's just my opinion. It could be a situation to where he gives Kewan Lacy 30 carries a game. I don't think he's going to do that, but that option is potentially on the table.
They do have a deep room, so I think it'll be fun to kind of see how it evolves. And they might have to adjust week to week because there are so many options. And every team you play has a different kind of skill set and different amount of depth. So when we come back, we're going to talk more Ole Miss football here on this crossover. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for the opportunity for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving your deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week one even kicks off, this is your moment. So are you going to go in on the MVP race? Is it Patrick Mahomes? Or are you going to discuss who's going to be the defensive MVP, rookie of the year, or anything else? There are a lot of different opportunities. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. All right, Stephen, Appreciate you being on the show as always. And to all of you out there, please like and subscribe to the Portal Podcast and Locked On Ole Miss. We truly appreciate it. And we are ready to talk some more Ole Miss football. We've talked about the scrimmage. We've talked about the running back position. Now I want to talk about the obvious with Austin Simmons. We are both very high on him. I had the chance to get to know him during his recruitment. Good kid, good family. I think that he's going to do very well. Do you think that people around the country are now starting to, quote unquote, take notice of him? I've actually heard his name mentioned a few times on a few random national podcasts. I'm like, oh, okay, so it's not just me and Steven here. What is your take on Austin Simmons from a national perspective?
Nationally, yes, they've absolutely picked up on him. They do the whole thing where Lane Kiffin has never had a quarterback struggle as a college quarterback. So you take Lane Kiffin's quarterback, you'll be all right. They used to do that all the time with Mike Leach, rest his soul. Anytime quarterback they had, he's going to put up numbers. So they went with that. So the national media is picking up on Austin Simmons a little bit. The funny thing is, like I said, Ole Miss is probably trying to rein that in a little bit and trying to bring that back in because he still has to develop a little bit. He's still going to make mistakes. He's still at the point where there's some stuff that happens that he's seeing for the very first time. And I think that in the last scrimmage with Austin Simmons, Pete Golding and Lane Kiffin, they tried to break him a little bit to see where that stress point is for a quarterback. He's probably running against 300 level defenses when the other quarterbacks are running against 100 level defenses, trying to figure out what happened and figuring out what the stress points are, figuring out what you have to work on. I think Austin Simmons is going to be a very, very good quarterback. Now, remember, this season, there isn't a Wake Forest in week 3 and 4 games to just slowly ramp up. The second game of the season is a road game at the big grocery bag at Kentucky. And then you have Arkansas coming down to Ole Miss to where they just got completely skull drug last year. They're going to be coming down with a little bit of vinegar in their system. So you have to have Austin Simmons ready. So you have to accelerate these games and camp situations to get him ready for those environments. And I think that Ole Miss is doing that this season, and he is going to be better for it. The scrimmage interceptions that he threw, he will be better later in the season because of those moments. Whenever you have somebody like Pete Golding on the other side, yes, that guy can confuse you. Whenever Nick Saban says this guy can coach defense, believe him.
That's kind of where I'm at too. So I think that Austin will earn his right to be mentioned nationally as the games go on. Ole Miss, obviously, they have the big LSU game. That's a major game every year. It's a rivalry and all that, and it's at home. Is there any other game in the first half of the schedule that you want to see him play well where you think it would really benefit him? Or is it just see what happens?
Listen, I realize that Kentucky is kind of the whipping boy, but Jackson Dart played against Kentucky twice, and he never threw for more than 150 yards or something like that. He had weird games twice. So it's either a Mark Stoops defense knows how to deal with Lane Kiffin's system, or Jackson Dart just couldn't figure out that defense, what they were doing. Austin Simmons is a little bit different quarterback. We talk about his processing ability, the way he operates. Kentucky is a very much don't get beat over the top team. Jackson Dart, somebody that led the nation per attempt in yardage last year. I think Austin Simmons taking the quick stuff, moving the chains, you can roll Kentucky a little bit.
Yeah, I think if he's patient and he's able to just to hit the checkdowns, the tight ends, and the running backs, 2nd down and 4 doesn't go out of style. So I would be totally good with that. And I think he's the kind of kid that will do it. But that's why you play the games, because if you get greedy, I mean, Stoops I don't think he's a great head coach, but he's an excellent defensive mind. That has been proven for a long time. When he was at Florida State, he was really good. And when he came out to Kentucky, he's made it work with, let's just say, less than traditional SEC talent at some positions. Now, they'll have a couple of studs that go to the draft, but overall, they don't have the talent and the overall depth, and they still get it done. So you got to respect Kentucky as well. Obviously, the LSU game speaks for itself in the first part of the season. Now I want to ask you about the AP poll, and I know you talked about this on Locked On Ole Miss, but I didn't notice it until we were getting ready for the show, and I just went through the AP poll. I'm like, oh my God, they're 21st. And I'm like, if you want to rank them there, that's one thing. And I know there was some goofiness that you'll explain in a second, but like Ole Miss not being in the top 20 is pretty much comical to me. What was your take when you first saw Ole Miss not ranked in the top 20 of the first Associated Press poll?
First of all, the Associated Press poll is just a big poll that everybody talks about because it's been around for 100 years, not because it's relevant in any way. And because of that, since the playoff happened 10 years ago, it's slowly become more and more, I don't know, crazy. It's become very power ranky. The way that people voting on the poll, whatever bias they have, they use that poll as a way to make it that way. Like one of the people that didn't rank Ole Miss had UNLV at number 12. Somebody had Florida at number 8. Baylor at number 12. Somebody had Nebraska ranked at like 13. It is all about whatever your perceived biases are. I call it politics, call it whatever you like, but they're using that poll as a tool to kind of push their own narratives. Like I think Nicole Auerbach, who is a noted SEC hater in there, did not vote Ole Miss in the top 25, but they also had some other extreme poll votes. If the poll was like the coaches poll all the way through, what happened, Ole Miss would have been right about the same spot. But because these 14 people decided to do their own bias thing, that is why Ole Miss is 21. All in all, since the poll is not relevant at all, it's not worth getting upset about. But it is getting to the point where it needs to be pointed out. It's like, these are not serious people.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt about it too. And for whatever it's worth, I think Ole Miss is conservatively a top 15 team. Wherever you want to rank them from there, go ahead. I get it. They've got concerns in the secondary. They got concerns on the offense. Everybody's got something. There's no number one team as far as I'm concerned, even at the very top of college football. So it's a really unusual year. So it'll play itself out. When we come back, we're going to talk about Arch Manning. We're going to talk about Ole Miss and the SEC, some of the surprise teams. That is next here on this crossover. As summer winds down, there's something nice about getting back in a routine you love, and Wayfair makes it easy to set yourself up for the season ahead. From bedding and linens to storage solutions for every room, Wayfair is your one-stop shop to refresh your home. Whether you're trying to get something for your patio, whether you're trying to get something set up for the winter, whether you want to get some blankets, Wayfair's got about everything. For me, my computer desk in my other room, I got from Wayfair, delivered in a few days, and it was cheap, $100 and some, put it together, and it's pretty straightforward. So it's convenient, prices are good, and their variety is good as well. Get organized, refreshed, and back in the routine for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. All right, Stephen. Arch Manning. You and I have talked about him for years because he was a big recruit. And obviously the family name and all that, and the history with Ole Miss and his grandfather and his uncle. Are you buying the hype for him to at least be a good player for Texas, or are you buying the hype for him to be like a Heisman contender? I've seen about every prediction on him known to man, even one today. I'll explain in a second, but I'll give you the floor first.
I think Arch has the ability to be a good player. He could be a good Colt McCoy level player for Texas. I do not see him being someone that can win a Heisman Trophy. I do not see a national champion level quarterback when I see Arch Manning. And if his name was Arch Davis instead of Arch Manning, I don't think he would have been rated as highly as he was in recruiting. It's just one of those things. He did not do Elite 11 in high school. He didn't do all-star games. And every time that he played a good team where they had comparable talent, not Texas, but the high school Newman ended up losing the game, and he had like a $125 passing. We still have not seen Arch Manning against good competition, except for that one series against the Georgia Bulldogs where he had to get pulled out because he was in over his head. I think it's doing Arch a disservice by saying that he is an elite quarterback, the Heisman favorite, the whole 9 yards. I think he can be a very good quarterback. I think he has those tools. But I'm going to be honest, Brian. I would rather have Austin at Ole Miss than Arch Manning right now. And it's not even close.
I think Austin's ability to process has already been proven because he scored. Did he score on the Georgia game in the drive he was in?
Yeah, he let a touchdown drive. Yeah.
Look, Georgia's defense, I've got some buddies that cover Georgia daily, et cetera. It is a pain. That is not a fun defense to go against if you're a young player or even a veteran. There are a lot of SEC veteran quarterbacks that got their butt handed to them. For him to do that on one single drive, pretty impressive. And while Arch is certainly more mobile than his uncles, he's probably not as mobile as Austin either. So it'll be interesting to see how his career goes, but he fits the profile size. Like he's massive. He looks like an NFL quarterback. He's a big dude. But I agree with you in the sense that I feel sorry for him, that it's not his fault who he is. I mean, he's an unassuming guy. He just kind of wants to be left alone, which good luck with that. But the pressure is bad enough having the Manning name. He's at Texas. Now, he picked that. But being at Texas is not going to help his cause. That is the epicenter of ridiculous fan base. I mean, the Longhorn fan base is so off its rocker. It's not even funny. It's always been that way. So I'm curious to see how that goes for him. But I tend to think, at least for this year, he's got to be overrated because like everybody's just assuming he's just going to come out and throw for 3,500 and 38 touchdowns. Like it's a lot to add, especially if they lost their left tackle. They lost some key players, the receiver room. That's not a lock. And by the way, their first game is in the Horseshoe.
Yeah, Arch has a bad performance in that game. Watch the Texas fans completely turn on him.
Texas fans they're bad. It's one of those LSU, Ohio State, they're a handful of fan bases. They got no ability to handle a loss. Florida be up there. Yeah, there's some stuff like that. All right, next up, South Carolina. It's been a team kind of like Ole Miss to a certain degree that a lot of people have high. I'm okay with it, but they lost. It was Kennard or whatever. I forget the guy's name. The defensive end. It was defensive player.
Kennard.
He had 11 and a half sacks last year. I mean, he was a dude. There's no way around it. They lost him. They lost a couple other defensive linemen, like 4 guys in the front 7 all together. Their starting lineup. Are you buying the hype that at least some have for South Carolina this year in the SEC? Or are you more like me who thinks, hey, they're the hunted now instead of the hunter? It's going to be more difficult. Now, I get the whole Lenora Sellers thing. He could be great. And he was really good down the back half of the season, but are we buying full in on South Carolina this year, or are you a little weary?
As somebody that's followed the SEC for the better part of 50 years, I'm pretty familiar with Mike Shula's game, honestly, even though that he's never been attached to mine. I remember him being a quarterback. I remember him coaching at Alabama. And I saw him in the Citrus Bowl against Illinois make Lenora Sellers not a runner, didn't use those weapons. They tried to get him to throw the football, and it didn't work out. I think that they're going to lose a game or two simply because Mike Shula just isn't that dude.
If they make him try to be a pure NFL style 1988 pocket quarterback, you're looking at a guy right now, Stephen, that will do a podcast on how awful Shula is. Straight up. Like the kid eventually got to get to that point, but this is only the second year he's going to be a starting quarterback. He's not ready for that. It is very difficult to make post-snap reads, especially in today's world where one half the field will be in zone, the other half will be in man, or they're running match. Like match defense is impossible. You don't know what's going to happen because even the players, what they're supposed to do, sometimes they screw it up and they can walk themselves into a pick when they do something wrong. So it's really hard to do everything for the pocket. And that's why even NFL teams are running their quarterbacks more. I mean, they don't want Mahomes to get hit, but he's really good on the move. So Kansas City keeps moving him around and he runs draws and stuff. It's hard. So I agree with you. Sellers, what is he, 240-ish? I mean, he's a monster. He could play outside linebacker for the Gamecocks. He's a big dude. I think that he's a guy that will have his moments. But what you just said is a microcosm of coaches, especially older coaches, being too stubborn to adjust. And it's why a lot of guys get fired, Stephen. So I'm like you. I think this could be a game here or there where they might beat Bama, but then they might lose. I don't even know their schedule, but they might lose to a team like a Vanderbilt or somebody like that, and it wouldn't shock me. That's why you got to know your personnel, man. It's very, very important. Florida's injuries. For those of you that don't know, Florida, talk about weirdness with the polls. Some people are thinking they might make the playoff. Other people are picking them to go 6-6 and Billy Napier getting fired. That's about as wide a range as you're going to see. One of the reasons, again, and I feel sorry for him. He's a nice kid. I got to know him a little bit during recruitment. DJ Lagway has been banged up. Even part of the time he's been in a boot. I don't know where it stands, but they've had multiple receivers, Aiden Mizell, Trey Wilson, Dallas Wilson, all banged up during fall camp. Stephen, name a time in your life where quarterbacks didn't get the reps they wanted and it turned out really well. How did that ever go for any Ole Miss quarterback that missed a bunch of time in fall camp? Did it ever go well for him?
Yeah, let's go back to Jeremiah Misulli. That's somebody that got brought in. Yeah, Jeremiah Misulli came in the fall, and it took him a while to get going because he didn't have the reps going through. He was a late arrival in the fall. Ole Miss just kind of threw him to the wolves. That was the year that Ole Miss lost to Jacksonville State, by the way. And you have a situation where by the end of the year, he was very, very good. But whoever plays Florida in September probably advantaged them. And whoever ranked them 8th in the country, they're going to be found wrong pretty quick. Now, the question I have will be the health of DJ Lagway. Living down here and paying attention, you watch TV, it's like, yeah, I think Florida missed a window for DJ Lagway's surgery. That's what the TV stations down here are talking about. That's what's going on down here. So what is it like in Gainesville whenever Billy Napier is like fighting on information getting out? Now, I think DJ Lagway is going to eventually be pretty fine. I think he is going to be injury prone in the lower body because he's a massive human being and he's not meant to be that big. That's just, unfortunately, that's the way it is. He's going to be dealing with muscles his whole life as long as he's playing football. But he needs to stay healthy. One more setback could be, we're at the point where one more time that he gets injured or something like that, we're talking wins and losses at that point.
That's what I mean. Their schedule's nuts too. Florida's schedule is no friendly adventure. And I mean, they got Miami out of conference. They got Florida State out of conference. And they got one of the more difficult road schedules in the SEC anyway. Like, good luck to them if DJ can't play because their backup is not good. I mean, it's bad news, but it's certainly not Ole Miss's quarterback depth chart, I can assure you. Finally, Stephen, who is your most likely SEC surprise team? If you could pick anybody on the boat, who would it be?
Probably Missouri. I like the Missouri Tigers. They don't leave Columbia, I think, until the end of October.
Correct.
If you have a situation to where they beat Alabama or they beat Auburn, we talked about that, 10 wins are on the table for the Missouri Tigers. And if they win 10 again, I think it's time to give Elijah Drinkwitz a little bit of the benefit of the doubt moving forward. He didn't get it this year, obviously, after Brady Cook left. We have to see if Bo Pribula can be that guy. But if Missouri wins 10 games again, it's time to start giving Elijah Drinkwitz the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, their schedule this year is interesting. They start Central Arkansas. Then they got Kansas is good, but it's in Missouri's home stadium. They got Louisiana coming to their stadium. Then it gets real, at least a little bit. They got South Carolina, but again, it's at home. UMass at home. But then their next home game is a little different. It's Alabama. If they get through those first games and like Alabama comes to that stadium, they come to Columbia and Mizzou is undefeated, that place will be bananas. It would be a great scene. And it's why guys like you and me just love college football. I'm not a Missouri fan. I'm not an Alabama fan, but I'm going to watch just because of the pandemonium around it. I find it interesting. So I root for teams like that.
How far after the Alabama-Georgia game is Alabama-Missouri?
I don't know let me see what Alabama's schedule is, but they play, I think it's real close. Let's see. If that game is back-to-back by chance, let's see. Alabama plays at Georgia on the 27th, so that's a few weeks. It's a 2-week gap. They've got Georgia on the road. Then they host Vanderbilt, which is still an emotional game for all the wrong reasons.
Sandwich game.
It is. And then Missouri's after that. So there's no way they're going to be emotionally up the way Missouri is going to be. I can assure you. Don't be shocked. I mean, I'm going to pick Alabama to beat Missouri more than likely. But don't be surprised because Alabama's going to have. If you're a Vanderbilt fan, you might want to take a vacation that weekend. They're going. Alabama is going to bring a can of you know what to play Vanderbilt. So we'll see how that goes. But Missouri's my pick as well. They've got a good defense. Drinkwitz is underrated as a coach. He's a quirky guy. They get some pretty good players from the portal. I think they could, if Pribula is good, he doesn't be great at quarterback, look out. That could be a team that causes some problems for teams. And again, this is why college football is fun. So I enjoy those kinds of seasons. Stephen, tell everybody where they can find your work, my friend.
All right, you can check us out on the Locked On Ole Miss YouTube channel. Give us a subscription there. You can catch us wherever you get your podcast. Give a 5-star review. Subscribe to the podcast there. If you're interested in a little bit more, our subtext channel is available as well, so you can join that. It's the 14-day free trial. It's the easiest canceling you could ever think of, and it's pretty cool stuff. So we'll see how it goes.
All right, you can find the Portal Podcast on Spotify, Podbean, Apple, and everywhere else you can download your pods on the go, going to the gym, going to the grocery store, take the Portal Podcast with you. And, of course, on YouTube. Please like and subscribe. We will see you again soon.